this afternoon. Call this meeting to order for the Public Safety Committee for October 21st, 2025. It's 4:00 p.m. If we could, I'd like to start with just a moment of silence, please. Amen. Thank you. All right, we have the minutes from September 16th, 2025 we need to approve. Can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
those minutes. And we have a second. Any additions or deletions? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next on the agenda, Police Department and Fire Department asking for an approval to accept the FY25 Port Security Grant Program award totaling $832,600. The grant will fund first a portable fire pump, marine firefighting training for Charleston Fire Department, and also a remotely operated underwater vehicle for the Charleston Police Department. This grant requires a 25% match of $208,150, which will be budgeted for FY26.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion on this? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. So next up, we have from the police department, we have an update on our juvenile curfew ordinance. Chief Cheeto Walker is joining us from Denver, Colorado, virtually, where he's at the IACP conference. Chief?
Hey, thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone, Mr. Mayor, council members. First of all, I apologize I couldn't be there in person, but thank you for the opportunity to at least provide an update on the juvenile curfew. It's very important that we do so. But since the enforcement began on June 27th, our officers have observed strong community cooperation and high voluntary compliance. So over the past 4 months, we've recorded few citation or arrests and received consistent feedback from the business owners and the residents, mostly in support of the curfew's intent. A department survey found that 85% of the respondents approved of the measures, and our data is telling us that the juvenile activity in the surface lots and parking areas are noticeably decreased. Now, these early indicators suggest the curfew is being followed. While it's too early to determine its full impact, the results show promising alignment between enforcement, communication, and community partnerships. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to at least thank both school districts, parents, and those neighborhood leaders who helped us spread the word and encourage the cooperation with the ordinance. Now, with that, I want to pass it over. I think Dr. Edson is in the room. I see the back of your head there, Jill. She will present on some of the data for us, and I'll stay on the line and be available for questions at the conclusion.
Okay, thank you, Chief. We're about to pull up our PowerPoint momentarily. Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor, council members, for having us today to speak about this and give an update to the community and how things are going. As the chief mentioned, this is something that we intend to continue looking at over time, but we are happy to share what we know so far. As you can see on the slide, the curfew went into effect in June 27th, 2025, and it was a specific area in the central business district to which it applied. The curfew applies between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. on certain nights, and it applies to persons 17 years or younger without adult supervision, and despite some exceptions, there are some exceptions to this curfew. So since this time, we have collected 3 different outcomes that we've documented, and it's really important that you understand how we count our interactions. So firstly, what we didn't want to do was double count individuals. And so for every interaction, we count each juvenile within that interaction in only one of the 3 categories that I will discuss. So since June 27th of 2025, when the curfew was enacted, we have had 6 different juveniles arrested or cited. So that is the formal enforcement action that includes a police report and release to guardians. So that's happened 6 times since we started the curfew. Beyond that, if there is not an arrest during the interaction or a citation for the juvenile, in some cases, we do have field investigations involving juveniles. And so when juveniles are involved in an incident, either as a complainant, a victim, or a witness, we count them as a non-arrested party in that incident. And since the time that we started, we've had 3 of those. And finally, what you'll see, the most common interaction that we have with the curfew is we have what we call field contacts. These are informal interactions that are mainly advisory in purpose. And so we've had 15 instances where juveniles have been advised of the curfew, and then they've not been held for guardians, but they've been told to leave the area. And so what we're seeing since the beginning of the curfew enforcement, we've seen 24 unique juveniles be involved in any curfew interactions. And so what that's telling us is that the majority of those interactions are for low-level advisory encounters rather than arrests. And so what we're seeing is that this is being used as a precise enforcement tool while emphasizing outreach over punitive measures. And so beyond our administrative data, the administrative data that we collect based on our officers' actions only tell us so much. And so what we wanted to also do was conduct a survey of stakeholders in the Central Business District and the King Street areas that are affected, and also of the police officers that are doing the enforcement, to determine what their perceptions are of the activities so far. And so we did a voluntary anonymous survey the last 4 nights in August. So that was the last period of the 7-day application of the curfew before it went to 4 days a week application. And as you see at the top left corner, that's the barcode that we passed out in business cards. Our Team 9 officers assisted us with this. We passed them out to residents, business owners, workers within the late time entertainment district area. And we also sent a link via email to our Charleston Central Business District and King Street Business Improvement District listserv. And so we used a purposive sample because we really didn't want to just put this out there. We really were interested in hearing the perspectives of people who had a vested interest in the area and were there before and after the curfew's implementation. And so that was a purposive sample. And so to be eligible to participate, people had to rightfully acknowledge that they were in the curfew area in the approved times or in the applicable times before and after its implementation. And so we had 34 responses. The largest share of respondents indicated, about 75% of them indicated that they worked in the business district to which the curfew applied. And then about 50% of those people, a little less than 50%, would come there on a few times a week. And so they were apt to be able to take, to give their perception of the impacts. And what we found, it was a very brief survey. We basically asked them what their perceptions are before and after the ordinance implementation in terms of the number of unsupervised juveniles in the area and the amount of unruly behavior of unsupervised juveniles. And what we found was about 2/3 of respondents noted that in both of those areas, after the curfew was enforced, that activity decreased a lot. A few more said it decreased a little, and then there were a few that also said it was about the same. But notably, no one said that there is more unruly activity on behalf of juveniles or more unsupervised juveniles in the area. And then we also asked the respondents what their support for the ordinance was. And what we found was 85% of the respondents indicated that they did support the ordinance. And so the results of this indicate that, what we're seeing right now is that we have some initial impressions that this has been a measured implementation with limited formal actions and really no indication of backlash from the community members that are mainly affected by this. So we hope to continue keeping tabs on this and give you more information, but as of right now, that's what we are happy to report. And so at this time, I'll yield, and if you have any questions, the chief and I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Hitson. Appreciate that. Any questions for Dr. Hitson or the chief?
Councilman Tinkler. And somebody looking to be.
Oh, Councilman Tinkler.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question is, do we have at this point, a meaningful, statistically significant sample to know whether any language in the ordinance can be modified to make it more effective or not?
That's a great question, council member. So at this point, we are still too early on to have significant power to be able to test for causation or for meaningful differences in the data. So there are some methodologies that could be employed to try to get closer to what the impact is of this. However, I would recommend that we wait at least for a year of data to be able to assess that with any confidence. But that is something that we started collecting data and we intend to continue collecting data.
Mr. Mayor?
So if I understand these statistics correctly, and you do feel this is enough of a sample set to be statistically reliable?
I believe that at this point, we are just looking at descriptive information on outcomes and impressions that people have. It's still preliminary.
Sure.
So I definitely would want to have more data to be able to potentially use different types of analyses to look at causation or impacts. And I don't think that with these low data counts, we will be able to necessarily tell that right
Okay,
away.
that's why I was asking. Okay, so I guess perhaps somewhat anecdotally then, you can clearly see the impression of people that work there feel like things have gotten better. I am curious, Chief, from you and the officers on the street, in terms of the issues you all were dealing with as it related to juveniles and large groups of juveniles that were gathering around, and I saw them when I was out there one evening with you, Chief, that can't go into these establishments because you have to be 18 or older after a certain time period. Are y'all seeing, I guess it sounds like it's dramatically reduced in terms of the total numbers, not just the contacts. I mean, there's just not really that many people that are juveniles that are there anymore. Is that inaccurate?
Correct.
Yeah,
based on
yes,
our
sir.
survey
I'm
response.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Chief.
No, I apologize, Doc. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, and it's optical. It's very noticeable. Some of the impact areas that we were dealing with before, you can see a significant decrease in just the overall presence. There's been no issues on that front. And then even with the contacts that we're actually having with the juveniles, like I said, even at the onset, this wasn't about restriction of movement or, just snatching juveniles off the street. We're seeing exactly what we hope we would see with the partnerships with the parents, with the school districts. This is just not an area that you need to be unattended or dropped off by a parent. And you can see that impact so far, and it's still early, but so far so good, especially considering some of the things that we're seeing across the state and across the nation right now with some of the violence and just overall issues with shootings and other things that's happening in these areas. And we're not immune to it, but we wanted to take a proactive step to address it. Adults are adults, but we don't want to be having to deal with that with our youth and put them in a position where they can't recover from.
So I think what we're saying
Yeah.
is we wanted this to be a deterrent.
Yeah,
Not an opportunity to just arrest a bunch of teens.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's proven to be successful in that regard, that we have had hundreds of people that used to come down there on a routine basis that aren't there anymore. We've had relatively few contacts. The majority of them, or at least half of them, have resulted in just asking the kids or informing the kids that they shouldn't be down there and they left. And then a few examples of where we had people that were doing illegal things and have been
Yes, sir.
addressed. Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Yep. And with those 6, the rest are the ones that was turned over to the guardian. That's something that should be noted as well. Everyone was turned over, but it also involved other charges, be it alcohol and some other issues that they should not have access to in the first place. So it puts them on notice, it put their parents on notice, and so far so good. And that's what I say, that's what we want, to be able to educate them and not ruin their lives. So.
Councilmember Tinkler.
Yes, Chief, I think you may have answered my question right there, but I mean, were all six of those arrests, they involved other violations than the curfew?
Yeah, we had additional charges,
Okay,
just not curfew. Absolutely.
So
Yes, sir.
no one was arrested exclusively for violating the curfew.
No, sir, because we tried, like I said, the whole education piece, and like I say, that was the whole purpose of it, is to make sure they wasn't in harm's way. But we also, like I say, with the decrease in the presence down there, before the curfew, we had that a lot. So a lot of alcohol, a lot of narcotics, a lot of things in the surface lots and the parking decks that were directly impacted with those juveniles there being present and taking part.
And this is probably outside of the scope of the review, but I mean, in terms of other juvenile crime on the peninsula, has there been, or have y'all noticed any changes that are significant? I mean, has this impacted areas beyond the boundaries?
Well, I don't have that data in front of me, Councilman. But particularly in that area, in the central business district, we always notice a large congregation of juveniles amongst the adult population that's down there with the bars and the atmosphere. And that's why I say we try to tackle the issue what we had at the time, so it wasn't necessarily a blanket issue across the whole city, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilmember Seekings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief, and thank you for the presentation. Really super interesting. And I certainly encourage and applaud the continued collection of data. But I think anecdotally, and just if you've been out into the corridor where the curfew is in effect, and you have a memory that goes back to 2020 and 2021, the difference is marked, it's noticeable, and it's dramatic. And one of the things that the numbers seem to indicate to me anyway, is that we're getting a good bit of voluntary compliance, that we have done a good job of getting the word out there that this is kind of what's expected in this corridor, and we've had voluntary compliance. And that, to me, from walking that district through that area a lot, is what you see. I mean, there just aren't that same number of large groups congregated to do nothing but hang out in the street. And that was the problem that this was meant to, or the challenge this was meant to address. And so far, I think it's working. So thank you for the update. Keep up the good work, and be very interested to see how those numbers take shape. And please send me the QR code, because I'd like to participate in that survey.
Councilmember Brady.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I apologize, I'm a little under the weather. Was going to ask though, have we heard from any other jurisdictions? Like, is this shoving, the folks that were causing us problems off on any other jurisdictions? Just curious.
Yeah, and I tell you, it was a very busy month right after the curfew went into effect. We've talked to several jurisdictions, three of which that I can speak of is Greenville, Myrtle Beach, and the Washington, D.C. area that has kind of followed suit. So far so good, and I haven't heard any negative data coming from those three areas. But a lot of people are trying to find solutions to the problems at hand, and where we're not having to really like destroy the lives of our kids, and being proactive with that. So.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Member Seekings, did you have something else? You still have your virtual hand raised. Okay, I guess not. All right, anybody else have any questions? Dr. Itzen.
No, I have
oh, wait, hold on.
This is Councilman Mitchell. I have a comment. I can see the big change on King Street since I, walking down and drive through the King Street area. And it's a big change and a big difference. And anyone go down, they can see the difference. And like I said, when the curfew came in, we were just doing it to try to save some of our young people from getting into the system. And I think that was the biggest thing that was going on. I think they have done that, and I think they're doing a good job. The police officers are doing a good job. I go down and drive through and slowly drive through. So you can see the change of the young people that we had hanging out down. They're not down there anymore as much as that they was anyway. And so it has made a difference. And I think we have even saved a lot of young people that might have been in the system if we didn't do this. So people are in the community. Some people are saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. But we have to do something to try to save some of these young people from getting in the system or getting into trouble down in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Well, thank you, Chief Walker. Appreciate it. Dr. Itzen, thank you very much. And Chief Weiss hadn't said much, but thank you for all the work you do as well on this and all of our Charleston Police Department. Obviously a great report, good news for us. So thank you so much for all the report and all the work you've done on this. So
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right. Is there anything else to come before this committee this afternoon? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Mhm.